Hello, everyone. My name's Brian, and welcome to a particularly surprising turn of events where Wizards has essentially granted a free 24 hours of any card you want on MidGo. So what I'm going to do now is you're going to see me just hop in games with decks that I don't own, that I don't get to play, and we're going to see how many of these I can get through and how many things I can record. Now, normally when I record, I do 5 games, which is standard because that's normally a league, even though I don't always go in. However, because I only have limited time with all the cards on MidGo for $0, you're only going to see me do 3 matches per video, and we're going to see how many of these I can crank out within the period that Wizards of the Coast, or really Daybreak Games, has given us. So first up is a deck that I've been debating putting together both in paper and on MidGo, Legacy Reanimator. I've been playing a lot of Legacy as of late. I've really been enjoying it, and this is a deck that I'm very close to just owning. I don't have the Badlands, which are quite the expensive part. At time of recording, I could get Badlands for about $350 American. You can tell why I'm being very hesitant to trying to acquire those. It would require a lot of flipping of parts of my collection I don't use anymore, that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and give it a couple of games to see if I enjoy it. And when we get to the wrap up, which will be a little quicker than normal, I'll say if I feel like I'm going to invest in this or not. But Legacy Reanimator is very strong compared to, say, Modern Reanimator because of the card Reanimate. Now, Reanimate is literally you just take any creature, could be yours, it could be your opponent's graveyard, and pull it out. You pay life equal to its CMC, but then after that point, you get to go to the races. And as you can tell from the creatures in this, Grizzlebrand, Archon of Cruelty, Atraxa, and Sire of Insanity, you're trying to get these big haymaker threats into play. Now, there's a ton of reanimation in here. You have 4 Reanimate, 4 Exhume, which says each player can pull a creature out of the bin and put it into play, and you're kind of hoping that you're moving so fast your opponent has nothing to put into play. And finally, Animate Dead, all the way back from Alpha, which is a mountain of text that essentially says, put a creature from your graveyard into play, it gets -1/-0. We also have a lot of hand disruption, but the funny thing is, sometimes you thought seize yourself, sometimes you unmask yourself to get something into your bin to then reanimate. We also have Faithless Looting to get a little bit of filtering going on, and of course a fast mana package in Lotus Petal to try and do a turn 1. Now back in the day, this used to have, was it Chancellor of the Norn or Chancellor of the Annex or something like that, where you would stop your opponent from interacting with you, but recently these decks have gotten away from that. As far as the sideboard goes, you kind of have to get on a different plan, and the reason for that is your opponent is immediately going to bring in Graveyard Hate game 2. So you have show and tells to just put things directly into play. In fact, one of the reasons I wanted to play Reanimator is because it took me so long to get good at playing against Reanimator as a show and tell main player. We also have an alternative win con essentially in Iona, so if you're playing against a deck that is primarily using one color, you can bring in Iona, stop your opponent from playing spells, a path to remove your opponent's creatures, and again, a lot of Legacy decks don't play a lot of basics these days. Surgicals to go after your opponent's graveyards or to protect your own. Voidwalkers, again, going after graveyard decks, Fairy Macabre, same thing. Cast into Fire to remove things like the One Ring or Grafdigger's Cage. Wear Tear to get rid of other things that stop the graveyard from coming into play, and a Sauron the Dark Lord. This just seems to be a fun Reanimator target because it also reanimates things, I believe. Oh no, this isn't the Reanimator one. This is, you could tell I haven't been looking at a lot of this only because I have very limited time, so I just downloaded the first list I could get my hands on, which I normally don't get to do. I normally have to go and see which one would be the least expensive for me to play, whereas now it's literally free. So let's, without further ado, hop into a few games and see how I like it. Join me, won't you? All right, game 1, and I'm not entirely sure if I was recording my intro, so I might have to re-record that later. Let's see. Nope, easy mull. Easy mull. Wow, I am just drawing a lot of lands. Our opponent's starting with 7. Have a Grief and a Reanimate? Man, that's rough. I mean, we'll keep, because, like, how much can I possibly pitch into the, this? Oh, I have a Watery Grave. This is what happens when I have to record at a moment's notice, and I don't get a chance to truly look over my list. Delver? Okay, so we're playing against Delver. We are going to get to Grief twice, nice, though. So hopefully we just get to pick his hand apart. Animate dead. Well, that would be more helpful if things were slightly different. We're going to play out the swamp. We're going to cast by exiling. We're going to exile. Yes, the correct answer here is Archon, because I have no way of getting it into my bin. Hopefully they don't just... Okay, cool. So it doesn't matter because we want it to die. See what their hand has. Force of Will, Daze, Delver. All right. Oh, what? I was trying to click on the thing over here on the top bar to move it around, and apparently I clicked on Delver by accident. So that's not what I wanted to do. The good news is they'll probably daze the Reanimate, and then they'll kind of be out of cards. So that's kind of unfortunate that I misclicked as the first play of this video. Yep, kind of saw that coming. All right, let's see if we can come back from a UI punt. It's been a while since I've done one of those. We still have the animate dead though. So unless they draw a blue card, we should still get the Reef back out and pull another card out of their hand. All right, they flip their Delver, they attack us for 3. We're at 17. Oh no, they can force. Well, if they can force, let's just animate dead and they'll force it. Fine. I mean, it's not fine. I really do wish we had the Grief in play right now and we got to rip another card out of their hand. But I mean, either we get to rip a card out of their hand or 2 cards out of their hand. But we really are on the back foot because we pulled the wrong thing out of their hand. All right, have the Grief out now. We're gonna just take the Lightning Bolt. We have a 2/2, they have a 3/2. We have a Reanimate. We can reanimate one of their Delvers. And I'm looking at this list, and I think the reason this list has a Watery Grave is because whoever the person playing it must just not have owned an Underground Sea. We'll correct that for match 2. But that's something you see in Legacy, and it's interesting that it comes up during this whole, free weekend, because obviously there's no... When you're talking about Magic and you're talking about playing in a competitive sense, budget isn't actually a thing. So if you're talking to, a friend and they're like, oh, I just can't afford that card, that is valid. You can't afford it. But if you want to play at a high level, if you want to play at a competitive level, you kind of have to ignore how much something costs in the real world, like monetary value, because that's just the game of Magic. However, ponder from our opponent, you do see it. And this is a list that showed up on MTG Goldfish because it did well in a tournament. And it has a Watery Grave because, people aren't made of money. So, we did it in the first one because I just straight up didn't notice this because I'm trying to go so fast for these recordings today. But... well, I'm trying to go so fast and it's actually bitten me multiple times. But we'll see how it goes here. Our opponent's holding on to their forces. I get, we don't, kill any of their stuff, but I guess they're trying to stop us from getting a Haymaker. Oh, we drew a Swamp. Great. So we're flooding out. But we're suddenly attacking for the same amount. The problem is we're losing the race. If we can get Delver to flip and stop them from attacking us, that'd be great. But I think right now we're pretty much on the back foot because they get to choose whatever they don't want to be here anymore when it comes to their Force of Will. Now, if we can blind flip the Delver, that would be cool. There's also no more creatures if we happen to find any sort of reanimate spell. Lotus Petal, geez, we are just getting absolutely crushed here. I mean, at this point, we're getting real close to hard casting stuff that we might find, but the thing is, they have Force of Will in hand, so we have 3 turns to essentially blind flip this Delver and try and stop the bleeding, but I have a feeling our opponent's going to find something that's going to beat us to death here before we get to do that. I have a Trop. I actually played against this last night. I was playing some Legacy Online just for my own entertainment and not recording, and Delver seems to have this weird Eldraine card now that we might see. It looks like we're about to see it. Yeah, this both Seek the Beast and Questing Druid. So it seems like Delver is trying to use this card because it has an impulse ability. Another Force of Will. All right, so next turn they're going to play another Delver, which is not great for us, and they just have access to so much counter magic. Yep, nothing for that. I think this was just a bad keep. I think what you're seeing here is the first time I've ever played Reanimator in earnest, and I'm just getting taken to town. So hopefully in game 2 and 3, we can kind of do a little fighting back. Dark Ritual. Oh my god, so much mana. At least we found 1 blocker, which we're going to need because next turn they're either going to deal us 3 or 1. Depending on how they do their attacks. I'm also willing to bet they're not killing my Grief here because I think I can reanimate it. I feel like they must have removal in hand. But they have access to 3, count them, 3 Force of Wills. Brainstorm, sure, I got nothing for you. So this is also another giveaway that our opponent is using the free cards. Because if we look at the Brainstorm, nobody uses that Brainstorm art. In fact, I think a lot of the giveaways is the printings of the cards that the free weekend gives. And that is game. We get lightning bolted out. All right, so against Delver, I feel like I want the Void Walkers. I feel like I want Path. What do I not want? See, this is hard for me personally because all these cards are very similar. Delver doesn't have any like static graveyard effects. It has surgicals to my knowledge and maybe a Void Walker if it was like the black version, but this looks more like Teamer. So I don't see any particular like heavy graveyard shenanigans going on. What if we take out Animate Dead and Exhume, Unmask, and bring in our sideboard cards? And hopefully since we go first, maybe we can just go off, but our opponent has counter magic and we no longer play the Chancellor. So if they keep first turn counter magic, they keep first turn counter magic. So fingers crossed. All right, we are going first. Entomb Troll, no, I feel like we need to go a little faster. Faithless Looting. Okay, so we get rid of one of the lands. We have to go get a Badlands and hope we don't get wastelanded out of the game. Badland, Faithless Looting. We at least have the Archon we definitely want to pitch. Ooh, and a Troxa, all right. So hopefully our opponent doesn't have like a Fairy Macabre that gets both of them. If they surgical us, we should still have one target. What we really don't want is for them to have like surgicals and multiple counter spells. Because what we'll do next turn is we'll Dark Ritual and we'll try and, oh, okay. Well, that solves the problem. Choose a player, exile one of our Animate Deads, and we're just going to try and start eating counter spells here. So they fluster us, that's fine. And the question is, how many more counter spells do they have? So we're going to try and Dark Ritual here, and if they just force the Dark Ritual, then our turn's over. I tend to force Dark Rituals in this situation. I know some players don't counter the Dark, okay, yeah. They don't counter the Dark Ritual, they counter what happens next. So we're going to try to Animate Dead the, just the Atroxa. They have more counters. Oh, they're going to Surgical it, okay. So they had the Surgical, and that's exactly, this is what we didn't want. We didn't want them to have the Surgical plus counter magic. So because of how the targets work, yeah, I thought so. All right, we get one more shot here. Now, if they have a Daze, they just got us. And that's what happens when you run these high risk, high reward decks. Yeah, they have a Daze. All right, so we literally have nothing now. So this is what can happen when you play Reanimator. Game one, I will admit I punted away. Game two here, like, we had everything. We had the Hand Disruption, and they had two pieces of counter magic and the Surgical. And my personal way of playing combo is I can't play around them, especially with a deck that doesn't have its own counter magic, an Archon. So we're just gonna yield through the turn here and see if we ever find, essentially, another Reanimate spell. We have so many. But our opponent really is just going to go the races here. We have no answer for them. But then again, we went up against one of the best decks. Ooh, Entomb. All right, well, that means we won't have to draw one of our Reanimate spells. We can just, or one of our creatures that we don't want, we could just put one in the bin. That's, okay, it didn't flip. I was going to say, it's going to blind flip because there is no justice. All right, Entomb. There's no reason to counter this. If you wanted, though, if you want to burn your counter spells, yeah, okay. When your opponent is making mistakes, do not feel the need to correct them. Exhume. Well, we don't have the second mana source, so womp womp. I think our opponent's at a point where they're just going to counter whatever we do, which is unfortunate. With our guy in the bin being Archon and not like Atroxa or Grizzlebrand, we really don't have any Hail Marys. But like Archons are annoying. they are big annoying things. Bob will go for it. What'd they exile? More counter magic. Great. So now even if we do find a land, we can't go off because we know they have Force of Will. Or they're just gonna play the Questing Druid. Found a Void Walker, and we continue to die a slow death. I have to remember not to talk a ton when I'm in really losing positions like this, because I'm sure this can't be interesting to watch. You know, you have taken time out of your busy day there, dear viewer, to watch me attempt to go off turn 2 and just get railroaded by somebody who came prepared. All right, make it quick, opponent. I'm gonna sit here, draw no lands, and not really have much to do here. Path to Exile, that's hilarious. All right, keep going, opponent. I got nothing. Could you, like, cast some blue and red spells so that Questing Druid can get bigger so I could, you know, exit this game faster? If I could exit this game a little faster, that would probably be nice. Okay, the beatings will continue until morale improves. Troll of Khazad-dûm. Okay, well, that at least gives us something to scrubland. And you stop beating me. Oh, wow, they let it go. We knew they had no basics, so that was just better than Path, or better than Plow. Next turn, we get to try and Exhume? A brainstorm. Okay, well, we get to try and exhume. It's not going to resolve. Maybe they just didn't think they needed the Delver. God, dude's just gonna hard cast Force of Will on me. That's going to be so demoralizing. Just 5 mana Force of Will. And if you're wondering why I tend not to just jump into games directly, and I tend to, oh, am I just dead finally? Can you have another one of those, opponent? Please? Please end it? Okay, cool. I leave. Womp womp. All right, so as I was saying, yeah, okay, so Watery Grave, go away. Let's go get a C. Really, I type C, and it's 0 cards that have C in their name, because Midgo is fun like that. Fine. Underground C, hooray. And cool. What happens if I try and put another one in? Oh no, they just work like that. Yeah. Now that we fixed that, is there anything else in this deck that's weird that I want to do something about? Is there any other thing that I just didn't notice that was clearly budgetary on free day? All right, no, this is all looking pretty normal. Let's hop back into it for match 2. All right, we got ourselves a game. Get to go first even. We can reanimate Troll of Khazad-dûm. The turn 1 will Thought Seize, and we'll see what our opponent's up to. Or we could Thought Seize ourselves and just troll turn 1. So then turn 2 is Thought Seize targeting ourselves and Atraxa. But that would certainly be the more haymaker play. But our opponent mulled to 6, so I am going to take a peek at what they got going on. It's Burn. Guess we take Rice of Progress. This is actually a really bad matchup. Because what's going to happen now? Like, we need to get Atraxa out, but so turns out my thought process of they mulled Thought Seize them turned out to be really wrong, because we're gonna have to spend so much life getting Troll down. Man, I am learning today. All right, here comes the Swifty. Gives a poke. Entomb. All right, well, that solves the problem. So, Bloodstained Mire. Go get... It's just Badlands. Entomb. Troxa. And then just reanimate Troxa. Put into hand Lotus Petal, Unmask, Grizzlebrand, Entomb, and Verdant Catacombs. Now we have a lifelinker. We also have the ability just to unmask our opponent, dip in the Troll, and saving ourselves another bit of damage. We now also have a lifelinker, so this game turned around really quick. They should just scoop at this point. I don't think they can come back from this. Because the most they can deal us, I think, is 6. Okay, they got a fight. I can get behind that. All right, we draw Animate Dead. We can even do stuff with, so we'll just play them out. We'll go to combat first and gain a whole bunch of life and see if they just want to call it there. All right, again, they don't have to scoop. Doom. Let's just get Archon, and we'll just Animate Dead the Archon. This is how this deck is supposed to work, not my fumblings around of game 1. And don't get me wrong, Burn is a real deck. All right, so they're definitely going to bring in Ensnaring Bridge. So let's bring in our anti-Ensnaring Bridge pieces. I guess Iona even works. So we take out probably Sire, because Iona's just better. And then we take out what? We want all of our lifelinks. So we could probably take out Thought Seizes. We want those at the... What's the last thing we nip, though? Is it one of our reanimate pieces? It feels so bad. Yeah, I feel like we nip one Animate Dead. We try that. All right. Entomb, Troll. No, I don't think we can keep this. They mulled to 6. We're also going to mull. Iona, still no reanimation piece. And I don't feel bad about nipping one of our reanimation pieces, because if this Iona was a thing... Actually, no, that would have worked, because then we would have had Entomb. Normally, though, there's still more reanimation pieces than Namelbin pieces. All right, this works. So we're actually going to put Wear Tear back, even though they probably have like things like Ensnaring Bridge and maybe even a Gravedigger's Cage if they're spicy, because we have ways to dig through our deck pretty deep here and to stop them from dealing us 20, I believe. We'll put that back. We got to put one of our creatures back, which is sad. I'm going to put Grizzlebrand back, and I'm going to hope we draw pretty hot on the opener here. Here comes Swifty. If we draw like an Entomb or something, that would be best for us. Reanimate. Well, now we can get rid of the Animate Dead and not feel bad. So, targeting us, pitch Animate Dead, rid of Atraxa. Then we go get the basic Swamp. Oh, we have 2 basic Swamps. Look at us. And we put Atraxa into play and we refill our hand. So we want Wear Tear definitely. Reef, Verdant Catacombs. Actually, yeah, no, we definitely want... Let's just take the Scrubland. What else do we want? Probably Exhume? Animate Dead. Now we also get to Grief. See what they have going on in their hand. Chain Lightning Lava Spike. I guess it doesn't. All right, so this should be a pretty quick W at this. And don't get me wrong, Burn is a very good deck. I just have a lot of very big life linkers. Yep, and that's the match. So that's 1-1. Let's see if we can go positive in the final game. All right, here we are. Our opponent gets to go first. Has that been there the whole time? That's embarrassing. A Saturn eating his son. No lands, Maul. This will work. This will work. I'm even gonna get rid of Faithless Looting because I'm just going for Haymaker at this point. All right, do you play blue, opponent? Cloud Post. All right, so we're gonna get to do whatever we want and we're gonna sire them out of the game. So here's how this works. We play Marsh Flats. We Grief, Exiling, and Tomb just to make sure there's nothing weird going on in their hand. You got opponent. Okay, they didn't really have anything anyway. So here's why Sire of Insanity is in the deck. Allow me to show you folks. We'll go get a Badlands. We'll go Dark Ritual, Tomb, good old Sire of Insanity. There they are. And then we just Exhume. We get the Sire back. And now our opponent doesn't get to have a hand. That being said, neither do we, but we get to have a 6/4. So they can keep playing. We do have a 4-turn clock. They could technically draw out of it. Oh no, they're done. All right. Against Post. It was like a big Eldrazi stuff. I guess we just bring in the things that are like, hey, here we go. What do we take? Oh man, taking stuff out of this deck is so hard. I guess we could take out the Thought Seizes, like 1 Faithless Looting, just so that we don't get caught out, because they do get to go first. So let's try that. I mean, this is a little slower, but it has so much redundancy in hand. So long as they don't turn 1 like Chalice on 1, which I don't think they're able to do, we should be able to work with this, because turn 1 and Tomb, turn 2, we have both Animate Dead and Exhume. I don't know if Sire of Insanity is quick enough on turn 2 rather than turn 1, but it might just get our opponent again. Green Sun Zenith for the Dryad Arbor. So they do like this big ramp thing, and then they get down like really big stompy Eldrazi threats. Faithless Looting. Not where we're at, if I'm being honest, so we'll just play a Swamp and run through it. At the end of their turn, we Entomb and then try and do stuff on our turn. We are going to try and use the Reanimate, only because, again, they have Graveyard Hate at this point. Glimmer Post, sure, they get to gain life. Pithing Needle. Pithing Needle naming what? Grizzlebrand? Wasteland. See, opponent, I know you're also on the free day, because I can tell with the basic lands you're using, but Reanimator never plays Wasteland. And I do realize this is information you only get after playing Legacy, because these combo decks are so tight, you really can't have that like colorless source. We just go for Archon or Sire again? I think we just go for Sire again. All right, so I think what we do is we start with a Faithless Looting. We can just pitch lands. Troll of Khazad-dûm and Verdant Catacomb. We have a Petal now, which will be helpful for next turn if this doesn't work. Can I reanimate my Sire? Or do you have Surgical? Or Fairy Macabre? There are many answers. Oh no, we just have Sire. All right, opponent. You have a Dryad Arbor. I have a Sire of Insanity. Oh man. Okay, so what's your plan now, big guy? Sire of Insanity's a miss. And that's the match. All right, let's go to wrap. All right, and that's a quick 3 with Legacy Reanimator. It's a good deck. It's a good deck that's very tight. As you can tell by the first game, I did a UI hunt. That's going to happen. But as far as the deck itself, once you learn, it's a linear deck, let's be real, guys. Once you kind of learn your linear kind of line to it, and you get really good at that, and you get really good at like, okay, what am I doing in the Legacy format? What am I playing against? Do they have counter spells? If they don't have counter spells, can I win with Sire? Do I just want to redraw my hand with Atraxa? Do I want to Archon them? Those are the lines you have to learn, and this has always been a very powerful deck in Legacy. I think I will put it together if I ever run into Badlands, or if I can trade up to Badlands sort of things. But that's it for this super quick video, 3 instead of 5, just because I gotta try and, eat as much as I can here. But thanks very much for joining me on this one. I will catch you in the next one. You could tell which ones are on the free weekend by all these cards I don't own, and this shirt, because obviously I'm not changing it today. So thank you guys very much. Hope to see you in the next one. Later.